Countless statues and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent. If I could get out of the game, would I? Hell yeah, I would. For the new people, my name is Mr. X. This is the Extreme Channel. Big part of this channel is Extreme Collectibles. Today's kind of an interesting video. I want to talk about why I wish I never started statue collecting. And with that, there's a lot of negativity. I have a huge passion for high-end statue collecting. So I'm also going to talk about why I got into statue collecting. So that's right, it's another top 10 list. It's another countdown. So a little bit of history for those of you that have not seen the video on how I amassed the collection. But before we do that, let's look at some giveaways we're doing. First, make sure you comment sometime on this video. Maybe comment why you got into statue collecting, why you never have, why you wish you hadn't. Every time you comment, you get entered into a monthly drawing. We're also giving away this statue very soon. On our road to 20,000 subs, we are giving out this Mortal Kombat statue at 12,500 subs. All you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification, and stay tuned for that giveaway. So I've been collecting specifically statues for about 4 or 5 years. And just like most people that go down this rabbit hole, you're always looking for the next statue, the next fix. It's kind of an addiction. In fact, I've actually done a video on statue addiction as well. And while statue collecting can be an investment, just like any investments, it's not a sure thing. And I don't collect for an investment, although I do have a lot of capital because of all the statues I own. If Mrs. X wants $10,000 for something and I don't want to pull it out of the bank, I just do a for sale video and I sell $10,000 worth of statues in a few days. But what I want to do today is talk about the 5 reasons I wish I had never gotten into statue collecting, probably the worst parts of it. We'll count down from number 5 to number 1, and then we'll do the exact same thing as why I'm glad I got into statue collecting. So are you ready? Go ahead and get a beer and piss before we start. You can pause, it's okay. So the number 5 reason I wish I hadn't gotten statue collecting is the sheer amount of space it takes up. And any collector can relate to this, because I always say space is a collector's enemy. And not just when you think about statue collecting. Think about all the room it takes up, from the boxes in your storage or your garage, to the statue displays all around you. You could do so much other stuff. Some of you guys know I finished my basement simply to make a giant statue display where I have hundreds of statues. If I got rid of the statues, I would still have a kick-ass basement. I think the amount of space that statue collecting takes up, I know that's probably Mrs. X's number 1 reason, but for me it comes in at number 5. The amount of space statue collecting takes up, not just the statues themselves, but the displays and the boxes, is a reason I never wish I got into the game. Number 4, and this is particularly true of anybody, but especially for me, is the amount of time it takes up. Thus, this YouTube channel was born, but if you think about just in general how much time you spend browsing, looking on forums, communicating on Facebook, Sideshow's website, me doing YouTube videos, this probably sucks 40 hours a week out of my time. And this is 40 hours of time that I don't have to spare. I hate how much time statue collecting takes. The nice thing though, it is a filler for doing some other stuff that may be unhealthy. And if you really think about it, when you start diving into rearranging your displays, dusting, looking for the next statue, communicating with others, looking at new pieces that are coming out, even if you don't have a YouTube channel, I think that it is a huge time sucker. So the number 4 reason I wish I didn't get into statue collecting is how much time it sucks out of my life. Number 3 reason is the fact that it is addicting, and it's more addicting than meth. Granted, I've never tried meth, so I wouldn't know, but you always want the next fix. And that kind of ties back into number 4. That's why it takes up so much time. It's a big passion and a big priority in a lot of our lives. Some people, it's their complete life. They're all about statue collecting. Now, I'm not talking about the people that might make their income off of that, but some people, they think it's the most important thing in the world. Even when you get your ultimate grail in, you're still looking for another piece. It is very hard to get out of this game. However, quite a few people would, simply for a lot of the reasons we're talking about today. So again, the number 3 reason I wish I didn't get into this is it's more addicting than meth. The number 2 reason is it's more expensive than meth. This is an expensive hobby no matter how big your collection is. If you buy 2 statues a year, that could be $2,000 you're spending on this. Like some people, if you buy 100 statues a year, that's $100,000. A lot of people look at my collection and they're like, wow, you have the biggest collection or one of the biggest collections. I do not. There are a lot of collectors out there that have collections much bigger than mine. Some of them don't even display it. It's in boxes and warehouses. But honestly, you have got to have a disposable income for this hobby. And because of the addictive features and the time it takes up, a disposable income is almost an understatement, to be honest with you. If you really want to get into this, you better be prepared that you're going to spend a lot more money than you ever thought you would in a million years. However, it is kind of nice. While you may not get all your money back, there is some value and some equity within these statues. So the number one reason is not the quantity, but the quality. And what I mean by that is, and I'm not talking about statues, is most of the people you interact with in this hobby are fantastic people, 99%. However, 1 out of 100 is a douche or a dick or a liar or a schemer. And those are the people I hate. This is the number one reason I wish I didn't get into this hobby. You run across a lot of people. Now, granted, it's only 1 out of 100, but if you have 20, 30,000 people involved, there's going to be a lot of those people that are just douches or dicks. And I think it comes down to this. There are people out there that just love to freaking create drama. And a lot of these are the people who I talked about where statues are so important to them. While it may not be their income or their main source of job, they can't differentiate that from real life. I feel while obviously it takes 40 hours of my time per week, I can differentiate it from real life. But when you just run into those people who are dishonest, non-trustworthy, they want to start drama, it just really makes you want to get out of the hobby. So for me, that is the number one reason I wish I never got into this hobby. And I think it's fair to say that you're going to find people like that no matter what hobby you're in. But here it just seems very prevalent. And what's crazy about this is the number one reason I wish I didn't get into statue collecting is the number 5 reason I'm glad I did. The people. For those 99 out of 100 people that aren't the drama queens or the liars or the schemers, I've made some awesome relationships, both in person and virtually. The number 5 reason I love this hobby is because of those people. And you can relate so much with these people, not only from, a collecting perspective, talking about different pieces, but just life in general. And you can make these friends, not just locally, but all over the entire world. So it's very, very cool. There's a few people in this hobby that, honestly, one of them actually is in my will. That's how close I've come to some of you. And no, I won't put any of you other people in my will. Clarify, that person in my will doesn't get any of my statues. I'm just flying them here in case something ever happens to me. They are going to sell off my collection for my wife. It's the person I trust more than anything. While, you make these connections with these people, you get to relive your childhood with them, which is the number 4 reason I'm so glad I got into this hobby. You get to relive your childhood, but you get to do it with resources. I mean, when I was a child, I would beg my parents to buy me, a 99-cent muscle, jar of Muscle Men. Remember them? I talked about them in my Journey video. Where nowadays, money isn't as big of a factor for some people, or for some other people, it's not a factor at all. So you get to really indulge in your childhood experiences with the characters you grew up with, and you get to see them like you've never seen them before, which is such a crazy different technological age. I talk to my children about that all the time. They get to see Thanos not only on film, but on film looking amazing. I had to get all my imaginative, creative stuff from the actual comics. Where nowadays you have these amazing 3D sculptures or movies that bring this stuff to life. And that child inside of you just really gets excited. The number 3 reason I'm glad I got into this hobby is I got to know so many cool storylines and characters I didn't know existed. The one that comes to mind immediately is Berserk. That's my big one right now. But whether it's, an anime character or even a comic character or movie character, you didn't even know existed, but you got interested in it because of a statue. So that's the 3rd reason I'm so glad I got into this hobby. It really not only broadens my horizons, but a lot of it's just for enjoyment. I mean, I'm watching shows I never thought I'd watch in a million years, or I'm reading books I never thought I'd read, simply for the reason that there's some cool content out there I didn't know existed in the statue world, kind of introduced me into that. Number 3 is it introduced me to characters that I didn't know anything about or very little about. Number 2, it gave me a different appreciation for art. Growing up, I was never a person who enjoyed art. You'd show me a painting, whether, it's the Mona Lisa or something somebody did locally, and I didn't really care much for it. But these 3D sculptures, especially since I know the process of, from creation to production, really gives me an appreciation for some of the small, especially the subtle stuff inside of them. Like, wow, that's amazing that on this little square inch they were able to do that. It gives me an appreciation for not only the finished product of the art, but the process and the people behind it that I never had before. I mean, there are times, and it's not even with some of the new statues, where I could literally just sit there and stare at a statue for 20 minutes, enjoying it. And yes, that's all I do is stare at it. Perverts. So now for the number one reason I'm glad I got into collecting is most of you that know me very well or watch a lot of my videos know that I'm a very go, go, go guy. I get very few hours of sleep a night. I'm always doing something. I need to stay busy. I don't think it's like a attention deficit thing. It's just who I am. It's how I was brought up, how I was wired. And if I didn't have this going on, I'd have some other project. And realistically, just being very transparent with you guys, in my life, when I have big projects going on, they keep me entertained. What is that saying? Idle whatever makes the devil hands. What is it? Idle play is not good for the devil hands. Somebody put that in the comments below. But it keeps me focused on this, and this is despite all the bad things about it, it is a decently healthy hobby where I could be doing other things. At least that's how I justify it to Mrs. X. At least I'm spending the money on this and not on, alcohol and drugs and gambling that she knows of. So I love the fact that it is such a big hobby and piece of my life. Obviously, it does generate some income. Not as much as it costs me, of course, but it's a cool project. I want to say that because I don't know how long this will last. Like I said, I've been doing it 4 or 5 years. I speculated it'll last at least a couple more. And I had a big side project before this that lasted 3 or 4 years. One before that lasted about 4 years. So I definitely appreciate that this kind of fills that void in my life because it's something I'm incredibly passionate about, I love doing, and I will always appreciate. So I just wanted to make this video, guys. So let me know in the comments below if you're not into statue collecting, why haven't you got into it? If you're into it, why are you glad you got into it? And if you want to get out of it, why do you want to get out of it? Put those in the comments below. Again, it enters you for that monthly prize. But just kind of a different video, and I think this was actually spawned off an idea that another viewer suggested. So I still have some more top 10 videos coming out for you guys, but for now, really appreciate you watching. Click on that Mr. X logo to subscribe. Hit those playlists to check those out. Otherwise, I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.